The auditorium buzzed with excitement as the next contestant was announced. Yet, amidst the glittering lights and cheering crowd, a small figure lingered in the wings, almost invisible to the world. His clothes were worn, patched with care from too many years of hand-me-downs, and his shoes had holes that let the cold winter air bite at his toes. But it was his eyes that told the real story, a mixture of hope, fear, and an unwavering determination. This was Lucas, a 12-year-old boy from a tiny town where opportunities were as scarce as gold, and dreams were often abandoned before they could even take flight. Lucas's journey had not been easy. His mother had passed away when he was just 6, leaving him with his father, a gentle man whose hands were calloused from long hours of labor, but whose heart overflowed with love. Money was always tight, and most days meant going without a proper meal. But amidst the struggles, there was music, a sanctuary, a realm where Lucas's voice could soar beyond the limits of poverty. He would sing at the back of the small church in their town, his notes lifting the weary spirits of the few who would come to listen. Music had been his mother's gift to him, a treasure she had whispered into his ears before she left, telling him that one day, his voice could touch hearts across the world. The talent show was the first step toward that dream. Lucas had never left his hometown, never seen the bright lights of a stage like this one, and never imagined that someone like him could be given such a platform. Yet, when he learned that auditions were open to anyone, regardless of background, he felt a spark he hadn't felt in years, a quiet but resolute hope. With his father's reluctant blessing, he had saved enough from odd jobs to travel to the city. Every step of the journey was filled with anxiety, the fear of being turned away clashing with the longing to be heard. Backstage, Lucas watched other contestants practice their routines. He saw kids with expensive instruments, dazzling costumes, and polished performances. His heart sank at times, the voice inside him quivering with self-doubt. But then, a small smile from a stagehand, a nod of encouragement from a fellow contestant, reminded him why he was there. He was not there to compete with wealth or polish, he was there to share a gift, the gift his mother had given him. The moment came to step onto the stage, and the bright lights were blinding, the audience a sea of faces he couldn't see. His knees shook, his hands were clammy, but he took a deep breath, closed his eyes for a moment, and remembered his mother's words, "Sing from your heart, Lucas, and the world will listen." As the first note escaped his lips, the audience leaned forward in curiosity. Lucas sang a song that spoke of hope in the darkest times, of dreams nurtured against all odds, and of love that never truly leaves us. His voice was clear and pure, each note carrying the weight of his struggles, yet lifted by the resilience of his spirit. Judges who were accustomed to polished, practiced performances found themselves caught off guard. There was a rawness, a sincerity in Lucas's voice that no amount of training could replicate. Tears glistened in the corners of their eyes as his song continued, each word weaving a story of pain, perseverance, and profound beauty. Unexpectedly, Lucas faltered in the middle of the song. A shaky note betrayed his nerves. The audience gasped, and for a fleeting second, fear gripped him like a vice. But then, in the quietest corner of his mind, he heard the faint echo of his mother's voice, urging him to continue, reminding him that perfection was never the goal. He closed his eyes again, drew a deep, steadying breath, and sang the next line with even more intensity. Every note resonated with honesty and passion, every word reaching out like a hand to those who had ever felt invisible or unheard. By the time he reached the final chorus, the auditorium was silent, hanging on each note as if the world itself had stopped to listen. The judges, who had been moved before, were now openly weeping, their professional composure shattered by the purity of his talent. The audience erupted into applause, but even as the clapping filled the room, there was a moment of hushed awe, a recognition that they had witnessed something extraordinary, something that transcended the usual spectacle of a talent show. When the host asked Lucas to step forward, he barely heard the question, still caught in the afterglow of the music. Then came the moment that would change his life forever. One of the judges, moved beyond words, pressed the golden buzzer. A cascade of light and confetti rained down as the audience rose to their feet. Lucas's eyes widened in disbelief, his small hands trembling. The golden buzzer was more than just a ticket to the next round, it was an affirmation that he belonged, that his struggles, his dreams, and his voice mattered. Backstage, as Lucas tried to compose himself, his father embraced him tightly. "I always knew you had something special," he whispered, his voice breaking. Lucas could only nod, unable to speak through the flood of emotions. The golden buzzer was not just a recognition of talent, it was a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the humblest beginnings could give rise to something extraordinary. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Lucas traveled to rehearsals, interviews, and media appearances, each step taking him further from the small town he had always known. Yet, through it all, he remained grounded. He never forgot the church where he first sang, the small meals he shared with his father, or the kindness of strangers who had once offered him a coin or a word of encouragement. Lucas used his newfound platform to remind the world that talent could come from anywhere, that dreams should never be limited by circumstances, and that compassion and support could change a life in ways no spotlight ever could. In the final round of the competition, Lucas chose a song that was deeply personal, a tribute to his mother and to all the unseen, unheard children who carried dreams in silence. As he sang, he looked into the audience, imagining every struggling soul who might be listening somewhere, far away, feeling invisible. His performance was transcendent, each note infused with the love and resilience that had carried him this far. When the last note faded, the auditorium erupted in a standing ovation, tears streaming from eyes young and old, rich and poor alike. The judges didn't hesitate. With unanimous agreement, Lucas was declared the winner, the boy whose stunning voice had not only won the golden buzzer but had also captured hearts around the world. But more than the trophy or the accolades, Lucas had achieved something far greater. He had reminded everyone that the human spirit, fueled by love, hope, and perseverance, could shine through even the darkest circumstances. As he returned home months later, Lucas carried with him not just his prize, but a mission. He organized music workshops for underprivileged children, ensuring that those who might otherwise go unheard could find their own voices. He shared his story, not as a tale of fame, but as a testament to the power of belief, kindness, and courage. His journey had started with a single note in a small church, but it had become a symphony of hope for countless others. In the quiet moments, Lucas would still sit and sing alone, feeling the presence of his mother in every melody. His voice had changed the world, but it had also remained a deeply personal expression of love, loss, and resilience. Through music, he had learned that the greatest gifts are not measured by wealth or recognition, but by the hearts they touch and the lives they uplift. And so, the poor boy with the stunning voice became a beacon of hope, a living reminder that dreams, no matter how humble their beginnings, could indeed move the world.